Finally, hello everybody. Finally, welcome back. This is the time when we are actually gonna be working on this website. At noon I tried, but I was feeling sleepy crazily. I mean, so that couldn't be done. But now everything's done. So I just used the word right now that is crazily. I don't even know whether it exists. Crazy, crazily. Okay, it definitely exists. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and what we were working on. We were working on this particular part, right? And what we want here, that as we move it, we are able to move everything. That is good. And as we change the text, the text is actually changing. So this is sort of working fine. There's only one thing, that is text should text is appearing at the right place. When I click outside, the text should disappear, and that is not disappearing yet right now. So that is something we have to focus on. Apart from this particular thing, text. I thought ChatGPT would do better job, but we still have to modify the things. Never mind. I think DG transparent. DG black /20. So this is how we'll have it, and probably the line goes over the text too. So this is how it goes. That's not really bad. The next thing is that I need to add the top, so Z is gonna be suppose 10 or something. That's good. Now I can click anywhere, and we don't really need to hide the previous one, right? And we can just overlap it. So at the end of the day, having a text like this should be enough. Apart from this particular thing, grounded LG, and as for x and y, whenever we are just simply calculating them, so the style that we actually have over here, left and top, right? So left is gonna be x. X, let's subtract it by the tolerance. So same thing y. Not just the tolerance actually, we have to subtract the width subtracted by half of the width. Mm, not that much either, just tolerance is not enough properly. As we are adding 20 to the width, I'm gonna be subtracting 20 over here, and hopefully it's gonna be fine. So this is how it's just simply going on. 20 becomes too much, so because the tolerance was already being subtracted, so just this much should be fine. Tolerance, just subtract that. Tolerance divided by 2. Think about it. Starting is gonna be that, and we want just a little at the top, so tolerance is fine, we can just have a little more. So tolerance multiplied by 1.5, so if that's 10, so yeah, this is not bad. We can just simply edit this, then we can click on enter and it will be gone. So okay, at least initially it is good. Later I'm gonna be working on the UI part for sure. Of course, with the help of AI, I'm gonna make the UI better. But overall things are fine, and especially when it comes to this, it actually becomes pure black color type something. Eraser. Even we have to fix the on blur option as well. So how it actually works. First of all, that's selected by default, so whenever the frame ID changes, so frame input name ref dot current select by default. So now if we double click, we'll get it as selected and we can edit it. The only thing is that it needs to have minimum width, and what that minimum width gonna be. We have to do one thing, that is whatever we are doing, everything's fine. We even have to remove the this is completely fine. We have to remove the previous value, the background one. So how can we remove it? That previous value is actually being rendered on the frame or not, scene. As we have the frame, we select this is the background, but we just get the overlay on the we just get the bounce on the overlay. Main shape is still being rendered on the scene. Yes or no? No, because as soon as we select the what the hell, what's wrong with this now? What kind of bug is this? Okay, at least right now I am not pressing that. So what I was just simply saying that I need to remove this part, the upper one. mm, Removing in the sense that should just simply disappear. That is it. As of right now, how we are rendering this. So whenever we are drawing a frame, that simply means over here we have the frame title. So we already passed the forward. Forward means hovered over the shape. This needs to be rendered conditionally. Interesting. Mm. This belongs to the same shape, so rendering it separately doesn't make any sense. So ultimately I'll have to render it conditionally, so that's fine. What to do here? How to remove frame title when double clicked and render editor text. Let's have cleanest approach is to treat frame title as being one of the two states. Frame title as being one of two states. Viewing mode, draw the title on the canvas. Editing mode, don't draw the title, instead render HTML input. So frame editing state, if I have the value here, frame editing state, set frame editing state, use this, by default is gonna be null. Whenever we double click it, we will have frame editing state over there, and that is fine. And then let us skip drawing title. So whenever we are drawing that, we can just simply skip this particular section here. That is interesting. And mainly we don't have to skip everything, so we'll have to make sure that the shape.id is triple equals to this, then only that's going to be skipped, and then we are gonna be just simply rendering them. And finish editing on Interscape or blur, it doesn't seem to be working yet, so we'll work on this, and that is it. Even better, similar to Excalidraw. So editing frame ID is gonna be frame editing this shape of shapes we are gonna be drawing over here, and if the shape.id is the editing frame ID, so we'll send the text as empty and continue, or even cleaner. We can just skip it, that's enough, and we can have an option over here. Okay, that's fine, let's do that. So options, hide title, and that's gonna be a boolean. The way it's just simply mentioning over here, the same way we have to just simply go ahead. Again, that's gonna be options, so it's not like we have to pass it every time. And forward is what? Forward is the boolean number, and it can even be better in the sense, if I go to render shapes, I can directly pass the hovered frame ID. Because as I already have the hovered frame ID, so that's actually gonna be a string. And now well, that's bad. This is the hovered ID, right? So when we hover over a frame, yeah, so there is a difference between the frame ID, frame editing state. Whenever we double click, what we do here, so whenever we double click on the, on what, on the shape, of course, update selection over, update this, double clicking, handle double click. Whenever we double click, so hit shape we get, once we get the hit shape, is clicked on the frame. If it is clicked on the frame, set editing state, we have the editing state, frame ID we have, and this we have, the name we have. That simply means we have this. So once we actually have it, editing state, so when we render, at the time I have to pass it somehow, so frame editing state needs to be passed. So render shapes, what the hell, sorry, alrighty, these are the places where the what forward frame ID is being sent to, and I'm even gonna send I have to structure my code better, and once this particular functionality is done, then of course I'm gonna be working just on that. But before even that, structuring is important. So frame editing state, use frame editing state once we actually have it here. So I'm actually gonna pass it here, so this is being passed in here. Frame editing state, what is the type of this frame editing state? Frame editing state, I'm exporting it from here, so why am I not able to import it? okay, because this is not the type section. Frame, and it's not like we have to pass it, I mean we have to pass it, right? Yeah, it can be either null, that's fine, and this needs to be passed. Forward frame ID is fine. Now what will happen, that is ideally it should be just simply rendering. It should not forward is editing boolean, because I don't want my draw function doing many things. So if forward do this, if is editing, so this particular section, if not is editing only, then it should be shown. That is it. Remaining things are fine, not fine. We have to remove this as well. This is the rectangle around the text, rectangle around the text. So at least this particular section is done. And now forward frame ID, I have to pass the boolean here. So forward ID, if that's triple equals to shape dot ID, then this becomes that. Frame editing state, is editing is gonna be frame editing state. If it exists, then true, otherwise false. As simple as that. So if I have the frame editing state, again this can be better as well. We can actually create an object and pass, but that's just an optimization, can be done later. But if I have the frame editing state, in that case I'm passing true, otherwise I'm passing false, because if I have that, I'm editing, otherwise I'm not editing. Okay, now this frame editing state, it can even be null. So now no problem here as such. So render scene, right? How about the render canvas? Because a render overlay actually. We have to pass it here as well. Frame editing state. Think about it. We are passing it at both the places. So as soon as I click, it actually disappears from the first place, right? If I'm not wrong. So whenever I select a shape, so once the shape is actually selected, it gets skipped from here. Yeah, that's fine. So if I come back here again, okay. That doesn't have any name now. Interesting. If I don't have any name, by default it should have some name as well. Yeah, that's fine. By the way, let's slap it in a selection. New frame name. So ultimately that's not being what is this? Pointer is dot this interaction cannot read the properties of undefined this. It actually removes that. Fine. What can I do? So whenever I click backspace, so that gets deleted. Fine. But even if the frame got deleted, the shape still has the frame, right? No, the frame got deleted. For what reason? Because you delete. Let's see. Use delete shapes. The frame is being deleted there. Actions. So here we are actually deleting the shape. So if there is something selected, then if we click a backspace or delete, that's gonna be deleted, right? Usually yes, but but what if the selected shape is actually frame? That should actually be deleted even then, except in one condition. And even when we are deleting a frame, let's just simply delete the frame only, that's fine. And we have to make sure that once the frame is deleted, all the other shapes, they do not belong to the frame anymore. So but even before that, frame editing state, that's gonna be use frame editing state. And what we have to do, that when delete is actually getting called, delete shapes, but in case if I'm editing frame editing state, so if I have frame editing state, I'm gonna return from here. That's the first thing. So what will happen, that wrap it in a frame. Even if I'm gonna click backspace, no, it gets deleted. Reading undefined value. We are missing something. that's fine. One thing is here, that is whenever finish editing is called, I have to set it to false as well. So frame editing state, let's just simply come back to this one, and over here whenever we are calling finish editing, at that time set frame editing is to null, and we are already setting it to null. What else? We are removing finish frame editing, and the value we are changing the value as well. What else? Why is this actually being so what we just need to invalidate finish editing state, that completely disappears. So whenever we are rendering, okay, got it. So whenever I'm getting the state, that state is not being, so over here inside render, when we actually get this state, we are directly getting it from the state driven way, right? So we are depending on the redux state, and this doesn't change immediately. That is the issue. So in that case, instead of getting it from here, what I'm actually gonna do, that I'll get it directly here like other ones. So frame editing state, same thing needs to be done with this as well. Now what will happen? Double click the there's no name as such. There was that, it's just being disappeared. So we have to make that appear again, right? Frame name, in that case, so whenever we finish editing a frame, so we actually set the, are we setting the frame state to set frame editing state to null, update the frame, okay, if it's actually being set to null, so why don't I see the value there? Oh, we can't even delete the things well. Interesting. So pointer ref, what is wrong with this deletion part? So when we are deleting something, that's definitely the part of the actions use delete. Over here we don't have the value of pointer ref, that is definitely being passed here. So the question is where it's being used. So it's actually being used inside this over here, and as this is being used, we are passing the value of the pointer refs in here, and we are actually getting the value of the pointer ref. So selected shape context wherever it's just simply use the types, selected shape context, use context menu, and this should be used inside the context menu. So we have selected shape context in here. So at the end of the day, context canvas context menu is actually used inside the canvas. We are passing it in here. This should ideally be fine. So ultimately what is happening, that we somehow do not have the value of the pointer refs here, especially when we delete this. So let me see. Pointer refs, right? Why are we not able to delete the things? Reload the page. Cannot read the properties of reading interaction ref. Delete shapes. It definitely had the select and all these things, but as soon as I clicked, I got this error that I should ideally be not getting. So use delete shapes. Undefined, interesting. It's being undefined in here. Why it's being undefined? Use delete shape. The value of the pointer ref, the line number is actually gonna be the 17. It is being undefined, and then I'm getting the value again in here. Interaction ref does have that. So why is the value being undefined? That's interesting. It's always the same. Undefined and the value, undefined and the value. The same thing doesn't happen in here. What does it? We always get the value. Once we always get the value over here, so use delete shapes. If I'm passing the pointer refs there, it should be passed. If I actually have the value in here, the value of the pointer refs, I'm passing it directly in the user delete shapes. Okay, so ideally should be fine. But I think why is the value of pointer refs become undefined was initially when cast inside used should not become undefined just because it's passed into this. The most likely cause of pointer ifs is actually undefined on the first render. No. That is not so. Verify the call side. You should be calling it exactly like this. If you accidentally so the thing is that use delete shape, it's actually receiving the pointer f from two places, from the actions side and from the selected shape context side. Action is the part of properties. Properties panel, properties panel, right? .tsx properties panel. I'm actually passing the value of the pointer f's over here. Properties panel ref. But the thing is that as I was passing the value pointer f here, so once the value was actually being passed, so pointer f return type of this. Understood what the problem was. We are using we are rendering it conditionally. Interesting. And as we are rendering it conditionally, so it just simply doesn't pass the action inside pointer refs. And inside actions I'm actually using use delete, so that's problematic thing. So what I actually have to do is now somehow render it in every situation. This needs to be rendered conditionally as well, so there should be properties panel first of all, and this is the problem. This is where we have the actions. So inside the actions, delete is actually being used. So let's cut this thing from here and use it directly in here. Then we have delete shapes over here, that's just gonna be passed. So because over here we just need pointer f for only one for the deletion part, so I can just simply press delete. Delete shapes, and when it comes to this delete shapes, this is actually a method that returns nothing, and it even doesn't take anything, it just deletes the selected ones. So delete shapes. Now let's check this thing out. Even if we have it undefined, that doesn't really matter now. If we don't have pointer, then this is getting problematic now. Is this still undefined? Interesting. Properties undefined. Users delete shapes undefined. There's nothing in the properties initially. There's nothing here, but we definitely get the value in the selector shape context by default. Properties is still undefined. Lovely. Yeah, understood. Sorry, I just changed a few things and forgot to just editor reps. We have properties by default. Use delete shapes, that is undefined, still undefined, but it gets the values at the end. Use delete shapes, it's still being undefined. That simply means if I try deleting something now, we'll still get the same error. Okay, when we actually have the properties, we have the in the properties we have it inside time to give it to the AI. It's gonna be too much. Let's see if it actually finds some bugs. The problem is not here. I'm just simply guessing. I don't think there's anything wrong here. Looks fine. Let's just simply check all of them wherever the error might be. There is a shift context. We'll just simply pass it here. There's no problem in this one last code, otherwise we'll have to dig deeper into it on our own. Everything is fine, so why is this happening? Getting the undefined value. Something is causing this to happen. It's not like it's happening directly. Git log. Let's see whether we have the same problem here or not, and if we do not have, then something is just simply causing it to happen, so we'll have to find the root cause. Again, it's gonna take some time. Okay, that's quick. We are able to delete it here. So this is sort of working. If it works at this level, so how about if I go to the actions and this particular action in here, use delete shapes, it doesn't really use pointer here yet, and that is why it seems to be fine, because as soon as we start using the pointer, this problem occurs. Interesting. That simply means the pointer is not being passed right now as such, as expected. So let's get check out. So earlier we weren't actually using the pointer F. Right now we are using. That's problematic. One thing can be here. We have to debug, as simple as that, and we can debug the things one by one only. So let's go to the panel.tsx over here, and let's go through this properties section right now. And what I'll do that is I'm not really passing the value in here, right? Delete shapes. Okay, so it will not be problematic. Now let's check this thing out. The value still becomes undefined. And one more thing, few steps back, that is it. Now if I try deleting using this, we are able to. Interesting. If I try deleting using a button, we get the error. Shortcuts, where are they? We are not getting the shortcuts in here. So you've got to be kidding. But why? Bro, this is use shape delete. What's the name? I changed its name. Use delete shapes. And it was using the previous name. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the value was not being passed. Interesting. Const. Of course I need to pass the value in here. I'm gonna get delete shapes from here. And once it actually comes to this, so use editor store shortcuts wherever it's being used. Pointer lips. Which point is state? Now this is gonna be alright. So if I try deleting something directly, well, problematic. Yeah, let me fix this as well. At least the value is never becoming undefined. As the value is never becoming undefined, then the second thing is that if once I try deleting something, we are actually able to. Okay, how about deleting a frame? Alright, the issue has been resolved. So in that case, one more thing I'd like to do in here, that is properties panel. Instead of calling this inside properties panel directly, I'd like to go a few steps back. We cannot really go cut. Let's try this thing now. Yeah, working. And that's what I wanted. That is it. And now the next thing is that Come on, it was alright. Let's switch back to the okay, seems to be alright. What's the next thing? Let's come back to the same feature again, the one that we were working on earlier. Great. So the thing is that first of all, how we are hiding the text, that is something we have to see. After delete we are definitely invalidating it, that's fine. If I go to draw in frame.ts here, draw shapes and we are drawing frame.ts. So what we are doing here, so if is editing, in that case if I'm not editing only, then this needs to be shown. And how are we checking this? We are passing frame editing state, that can definitely be null, but a frame editing state. So if that exists, true, otherwise false. Frame ID should be triple equals to shape.id, yes or no? What do you think? The frame that is selected right now, that should be exactly the same one, not the other one. Ta-da, ta-da. This works, but what if we delete this? If the shape got deleted, if we get back, it's working fine. Delete that, get it back, it's working fine. Great, good job. So that was missing and we fixed that bug. What the checking was missing over here, that we have to hide it only when that belongs to the same shape, otherwise we do not have to. So this is it. And apart from this particular thing, I have to stop this deletion. Stopping deletion in the sense, let's go to think about it. If I'm actually editing right now, in that case I have to stop deleting. I should actually not be able to delete anything as such in that case. Frame editing is editing state. Frame editing state. Fine. First of all, usually backspace deletes that. That's right. Enter is fine, but if I click on delete, it gets deleted. That simply means this particular function is not being called. So when deleting that, if this is not being called, then what is being called? Deleting the shape. If I click on backspace for that, shortcuts. So this one is getting called. To delete. Frame editing state is null. Great. Rabbit. Delete this. It's still null. That's great. Left again. How can that be null all the time? Frame editing state. Interesting. It should be changing. Interesting. That is such an insane thing. भाई क्या हुआ? Redux is not here. Interesting. La. Redux itself is gone. This is hardly gonna work. Redux DevTools. There's something wrong with the Redux DevTools as well. Crazy. Coming back to this, wrap it inside that. It should be editing state. So whenever we double click on that, double click on what? Double click on the frames section. Now it's getting too hard to even find the files, and the main reason is that the way I structured the code, that's not the best way. So the code even need to be restructured based on the interactions, exactly what you do, and all the code related should be at one place. But okay, before even doing that, I need to fix this. Frame editing state, and we actually have to go to the canvas, and when I double click on this, so what am I actually clicking on? Seriously, such a fool I am. I even forget where that particular event is actually being triggered. So handle double click. on the canvas, and that must be being handled inside hooks canvas. Then what are we doing? As soon as that is done, set a distinct state. As soon as we just simply double click, then we get the shape. Once we get the shape, we are just simply setting the shape ID and this, and that is it. And text dot handle double or otherwise. So when I'm actually doing this, at that time I get the value of the this. That simply means by the time when I try to edit that, ultimately by the time I click backspace, the value of it is already there, present, right? There could be case that whenever I double click and click backspace, it's not gonna be present there directly. So in that case, I can do one thing, that whenever I try deleting something, and I'm actually depending on the frame editing state, and there could be possibility that I don't have that, and of course there is we don't really have that for sure, especially when I try deleting a frame. So there could be only one reason behind it, that is when you click backspace, so frame editing state is still null. Now when you delete it again, it's still null. So it actually comes from frame editing state, use frame editing state. If it is null, then, and we are definitely changing the value for sure. So what I do, const, I'll directly try getting it from use editor restore, and let's see if it resolves this because I'm depending on the React's state management, so I'm not gonna be depending on that. And now what? Fine, right? Yeah. What the hell? अब ये क्या है? This is fine. Okay, that was just the UI bug. That's fine. Everything's all right. Okay, that's fine. It's just because the screen is being resized, and because of that thing, it was unable to render this stuff well. Coming back to this, when we just simply delete this, that is null. And if we just have a frame around this, and if we just delete that as well, this still has null. भाई दिक्कत क्या है? Wrap it in a frame, move it here and there, that's fine. Delete the frame, go one step back, and now click backspace. We get it here. We know the problem now. What is the problem? The problem is that as soon as you double click on it, you set the value of the frame editing state, but that state is not directly available because the page needs to re-render for that thing. So the better approach can be getting the value directly here. So whenever we are rendering something, or whenever we are actually doing something that needs the state just afterwards, so at that time we are gonna be doing this. By the way, if the frame editing state, we have to get the state directly from the store like this, and if the frame editing state actually exists, we are gonna be returning from here. That simply means deletion is not gonna happen. When deletion doesn't happen, that simply means we are gonna be editing this. So seems to be okay. Now there are more things. It's not like this is done. When it comes to this, so now I need to have a proper rectangle around that, and apart from that particular rectangle, the width and height, they should be increasing as per the size of the text. So that is something we have to focus on. Yeah, so this is something. What is this? When we move it, this is all right. Let's try editing it. It still seems to be all right. Let me rename it. So renamed. That's still all right. Let's create another one. New name. So both of them have different names. Choose the color. So this is how it just simply goes on, and now I can create another frame on top of them. There are many cases that we actually need to handle. So the inner frames, they are actually treated as an object, like the inner ones, they are treated as an a shape. We have to make sure that the interesting. So we have to make sure that the size of the this is not really changing. That can be done anytime, not really big problem, but overall this is fine, right? Let's just parent frame. So we have parent frame, we have this one as well, and we have this one as well, and we have the children inside them. So this is working as expected, the way we actually wanted them to work. The next thing is that when it comes to a frame, I should not be able to change the change the stroke style of the frame and also when it comes to frame. So at that time, whenever we are drawing that ultimately, so this thing is stroke width. I don't really want it to have the stroke width. By default it's 2, that's great. So I actually want to make it constant because that is a shape and we can easily change the stroke width of the shape, but we don't wanna use this. So by default it's just simply gonna look like this much. So it doesn't matter we select this and we make it big or small, it hardly matters. It will always be like that only. So that's what I actually wanted. And yeah, now the next thing is that changing this. So as we are editing it, even we have to do this get this particular part done as well. When I click outside, it still appears there. Only when I click enter, the text gets saved. So this is something we still have to work on. And then once this is done, and when we are actually saving the value of this, we have to calculate the width and height. Calculating width and height, that's interesting one. So whenever we are saving, so inside this frame editor, whenever we are actually saving, so ultimately whenever we finish, so whenever we update, what do we do? So family, what it does on the basis of these values, it actually calculates the width and height of the shape based on the text, and turns out we have nothing here. So we have the overlay. So once we have it, we can create the context here. CDF is gonna be overlay transport current object context but before even that, if I don't have overlay context, or from here dot current cdx. Once we have the cdx, we are gonna make sure that if we don't have cdx, we are gonna return from here. Text is gonna be equivalent to the new text, and that's gonna be nothing but the value. Font size is gonna be the font size will always remain the same. So shape dot font size, shape dot text dot font size, font size, अरे भाया this much. Font family, shape dot text font family, and this seems to be done. अब ये क्या था? We tried editing this and then we got this. So okay, by mistake what we did we changed the size of this. What I actually had to do, that I had to change the size of the text. So let's paste it here. Text value, yeah. And not only that, when we render the parent at that time, what nothing, we can remove the text from there. That would be better. So if I go to the frame, draw frame.ts, and right now what I'll do, that is not rendering the rectangle. So what will happen? It's gonna look like this. Done. I can increase the font size a little bit. I'm not sure whether I should be. No, I shouldn't. That's fine as of right now. So yeah, this is how we have the things here. There's another bug. What is that? Whenever we move something, what did I change? But whenever I move something, everything disappears. Interesting. This doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here. This doesn't happen here either. So these two things are sort of fine. And now let's wrap them inside another frame. Sort of like this. No, this doesn't happen here either. Let's try editing the name. That's gonna be parent frame. Child 1 and child 2. We are able to move it. We are able to move this, and we are able to move this. Great, it works. What's the next thing that we have to do? इतना तो कर लिया. Better refactor the code. It's scattered. There are many things that can actually be done. We have so many to-dos here. All these things actually need to be implemented at the end of the day. But at this point of time, I'd actually like to refactor my code, because it's hard to debug the things. If things are at one place, I can debug it really quick, but I have the component here, then I have the hook here, then I have the drawing thing here, I have the helper functions here. So it's like they're scattered here and there. This is also one of the ways, like keep all the hooks inside the hook, keep all the helper functions inside the utilities. But this is not the best way for us, because in our case we have many things, and those many things have again many things in them, many helpers and all. So we are gonna be refactoring it based on interaction. So if I am drawing, all the code related to drawing is gonna be just at one place. If I am resizing, then that's gonna be the case. So this way, at least it can be a bit better, right? Again, that is something gonna be time consuming for sure, but as of right now, hopefully everything works. So we should not have any problem with the things as such. Let me even check the things out. 800. What is this now? A new bug. Congratulations, we keep getting new bugs over and over. What is this now? What could be the reason behind this? Time to debug this as well. It seems like its coordinates are changing. So any shape that I have, if I just move it here and there, that's fine. I can have another shape, I can move it there. If I just simply zoom it, it gets bigger. Let me have a proper look at this. We zoomed in. Now what happens? While moving, it becomes smaller. Okay, fine. What if we have more shapes? We zoomed out, zoomed in ultimately. It gets bigger and then it gets smaller. So the size of these is so the size of what? The size of the shapes. Yes or no? We played with the tolerance, probably scale somewhere, and that's the result of this is the result of that. So when we zoom in, let's try this thing out. So whenever we are zooming in or zooming out and all these things, zoom in, zoom out, zoom to point, at least. This is fine. Well, this is not fine. This is fine at this level, but once we zoom it, either zoom in or zoom out, So at 100 it works well. When we zoom out, sorry, in, so as long as it is selected, so it works well. But if I unselect this and if I move it again, this works well at 100 level. And now it just changes, coming back to 100. So probably I added some pan offset as well. This everything's fine. Zoomed in. Understood. So what is actually happening, that the width of it of all the shapes, they're recalculated when moving. So it is actually happening when we are drawing. So the width should actually increase. That's my smartness. Interesting. I tried doing something good and this happened. So ultimately, not even here. We have to change it somewhere else. Overall, what is happening? I definitely played with the scale somewhere, and now even if shape is that big, I just get this thing this big at 100 level. So when we start moving, it gets the right coordinates. Interesting. So where we changed something, I did this, I know somewhere. But where I did it and what's causing this to happen is still unknown. So whenever we arrow dot is not this part. Either we zoom in and zoom out, we don't really change the shapes. If I'm not wrong, shapes always remain the same, and that is right. That is why whenever we move, we get the right values. So if we actually get the right values, so whenever we render, then let's check this thing out, exactly what we are doing. So when we actually render, I must be passing the scale as well, if I'm not wrong, and here we are. Once we actually pass the scale, so that scale is just used for the frame, so that the size of the frame always remains the same, and that scale itself is just used for making sure that the line remains that, and this and all. So now scales are being passed to these, and once this is just for the checking purpose whether point is in them or not, and then we have get position and shape, get positioning shape, and then this is used. What is this? This is point in segment. Then we have apart from this point in segment stuff, we have arrow.ts. We just simply check the point in segment, point in arrow, diamond, point in diamond. Well, this is not really the one that causes that issue. So point in frame, so point in images, line.ts, point in line. This should be fine. Text.ts, get coordinates, that's also fine. Get resize handle, this cannot be the issue. So canvas cursor.ts, first of all this point use scale and set scale, and this is the place where it's actually being used, so I pass the scale. Get resize handle at this, it is just simply used for getting the resize handle. Use canvas interaction, so I'd like to check the value of the scale directly here. Use selection actions, shape drawing, get frame at position, handle shape drawing, that's fine. Shape eraser, use shape resize, use canvas renderer, we are gonna get scale, canvas renderer, it just simply used for rendering. And this one is just for the frame. Text editing, so that is fine. View code helpers, zoom, editor types, viewport slice, resize free draw, resize text. The problem is definitely while we are zooming in and all, and this is not just about zoom in, if I'm not wrong, the problem is gonna persist if I move it as well as expected. So any kind of interaction, ideally it should be here, but it is going back there. And not only that, this is insane, this difference in the cursor, so the way it's actually being calculated, not at this level, the way coordinates are being calculated. What have I done there? It is somewhere here. And it keeps increasing. Yeah. So whenever we move, the canvas renderer overlay, the problem is in the overlay renderer. Let's check that thing out. But what can be the problem? Passing the scale doesn't really do much. It just simply draws them. CTX animation. I'm gonna take a break now, and once we are back, we'll debug this. Now before even implementing one feature, I'll have to check whether it's breaking the other ones or not. Interesting. What could be the reason? I'm not getting the root cause of it. So only when we'll just debug it. Like there are many ways to debug this, so it's not like we cannot really do that. It is definitely possible, but I'm gonna be back after a while and then we'll do that. As of right now, that was it. I'm gonna be catching up soon, and don't worry, nothing's gonna be left. We'll go through everything. Bye bye.